finally get to this level of success where they've got more money than they're spending.
Don't do it. Like,
yeah, no, it's a waste of money. I think when I first started, I was so obsessed.
When someone trusts you, it's a different conversation when something goes wrong. You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Just hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So keep hitting that button, comment, share, review, leave us a review. And if you want to take the conversation beyond what you're doing here, beyond just what you're listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today we have Sam Allsopp with Neal Roofing and Waterproofing, South Florida, in the house.
Yes,
what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Bringing the youthful energy to the roofing industry.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. It's funny. I'm 28, and my partner's 29. So we started, 3-4 years ago. So we're definitely bringing the youthful energy, which was a little bit of a roadblock at first, but we're cruising now.
That's awesome, man. So how did you get into the business? How did the partnership come together? How did Neal Roofing and Waterproofing come together? Sure.
I'll start off by saying if you would have told me, 5 years ago that I'd have a roofing company, I would have laughed in your face. It really came out of, I had a digital marketing company, right out of college. I owned a gym prior. So I was kind of on that entrepreneurial path, started a digital marketing company, just kind of stumbled into roofing with the marketing as well as solar, and was doing lead generation for a bunch of different companies. Andrew, my partner, Andrew Neal, been kind of a lifelong family friend. He was working in roofing, connected me with a guy locally. I started doing lead gen for him. Unfortunately, the company, due to management and whatnot, kind of fell apart a little bit. And I just got a phone call one day from Andrew. He was like, "Hey, man, you know how to run sales and do marketing and bring in leads. And, I've kind of been running the day-to-day of this company while the owner's pretty much been checked out. So let's get together and let's start a company." And that was at the end of 2019. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it. And I at first I kind of just, it was half in, half out, just seeing if it was something, that was viable, if I was really going to ditch everything I was currently doing and working for. And within a month or two, we just started getting such traction that I dove all in.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's kind of weird. Like I've had some, 150 conversations on this podcast and it's, 80% of the people, roofing finds them. Like it's this weird thing. Like but once you're in the business, you're like, wow, this is a real opportunity. Like this is life-changing stuff. Like
100%.
So in those early years, 2019, just getting your guys' feet wet, like what were you doing then? And what were what were the activities you were doing? What was the mindset back then?
Sure. So we actually jumped into, we were working a storm when we first started. I won't get too into I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're 100% retail now. We do no insurance work. But we did have the tail end of a storm. That's kind of what jump started us there at the end of 2019 and into 2020. So, for me, I was mostly focusing on sales. I was leveraging my social media, posting on my Instagram story, "Hey, if you want to come sell roofs and, quit your 9 to 5 and blah, blah, we're doing that whole thing." So I was able to pull over like 8 guys, I think pretty quick. We were knocking doors, we were canvassing, and we were doing, primarily insurance work at the time. It was kind of a jump start for us there because the sale isn't, how do I put this? It's not, I guess, as competitive. It's not as, apples to apples with another company that's, been around for 40 years. And we're sitting there like, hey, yeah, we started 2 months ago, but trust us to, do your roof, right? It was more so, hey, you've got some damage, we can kind of help you out through the process and et cetera. So it was a launch pad for us, but we have worked out of that market. We don't do any storm work anymore.
What was that? Why did you move from insurance work to, storm restoration work to full retail?
Really good question. I think, I think that there's a lot of headwinds right now in the insurance space. Well, especially in Florida, right? If there's some Texas guy listening to this, or, some different markets, I think it's a little bit different. But at least in Florida, there's some serious headwinds. Insurance companies are going out of business. They're kind of cracking down. The overall, I just didn't love the storm chasing kind of, and this is personal, right? This is nothing. I know there's a lot of people watching this that do storm. That's fine. I just wanted to get into something. The whole reason I got into roofing, right, is because I had a digital marketing e-commerce background, and it was very volatile. Facebook is updating, Google's updating, this product doesn't work anymore. And it was like constantly, stress, right? And the reason I got into roofing is because I'm like, oh, cool. Something happens, the market goes to crap. Well, guess what? People still need roofs, right? And that was just that standard retail model that I thought I was getting into. So when I got into the insurance side of things and we started to feel these headwinds, it just didn't feel right. I just wanted to get into something that was more evergreen, where we didn't have the politics behind it and we weren't battling homeowners for, to be able to do the roof after we brought them through the process. So, and I will say that the final thing for us was Bill 76, which a lot of people might be familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it did get overturned, a guy up in Tallahassee, but when that came out, we're like, you know what? We're done. We're done with this. We're just going to focus 100% on retail and build something, long-term and sustainable that feels like we have tailwinds behind us. Right.
That's interesting, man, because, us and very well. And that, I've been in the digital space for a couple of decades now, and I've ridden those Google waves and the Facebook waves and the changes and all the algorithms. And there was a time in, what was it, like 2008, 2009, where I had like 43 websites, all ranking well, all generating income through Google AdSense revenue. Google made an algorithm change and they all disappeared in one day. And it was like, those are those decisions that are like, man, I can't create a business around that. Right? Like exactly. You can't create a business around that. And, what we do in our digital marketing now is much different. We're much more focused on the long-term plan and avoiding all of the pitfalls. I was trying to trick Google, right? Like, let's just put it blatantly. Like it was my fault too. You know what I mean? Like back then. But at the same time, those are the things that what you're talking about in the insurance industry is one change in the law, and your whole business model changes, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, man. That's challenging.
Tough. It was tough, man. We're bringing, we're selling the dream, right? I'm pulling people from their jobs that they've been at for however long, and they're, it did. I couldn't sleep all the night, right? Like, okay, Bill 76 gets taken out, and then all of a sudden, now we're frantically moving to retail, and now jobs are not, now it's taking longer to get, money in the door. It's just, I could go on and on, about retail versus insurance, and I can see both sides of it. But for me personally, and for my partner, retail makes the most sense for us with where we're at right now.
Yep. I was talking with John Senek, John the Roof Pro, if you're familiar with him. We were at an event a couple months ago and we were chatting, and he was saying his thought on the perfect business model for roofing is a retail roofing company that knows how to do insurance work.
Exactly.
Right.
100%.
Right. And so the knowledge of being able to do it when you need to, but also having but focusing on the consistency on the retail side, building your brand, building not relying on storms for all of your revenue. So it makes perfect sense, man.
I did lose you there for a second, but I got most of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, you're 100% right. Right. Like if a hurricane blew through right behind me right now, I mean, we'd have to be in a position where we could service homeowners that were going through the insurance process, and we'd have to be, which we are, educated about the process and able to kind of help them out if they have any questions and whatnot. But for the most part, even if that does happen, we've already taught we want to stay out of the insurance process. We want to provide a quote. Yeah. We want the homeowner, to choose us because they want to choose us, not because they're tied to some AOB or something like that. So 100%, I would agree with him wholeheartedly. That's definitely, in my opinion, the best model to run for long term.
For long term, right? For the long run. And so, but one of the things that I thought was interesting in what you said there is like you guys had sold the dream to a lot of your sales reps, right? Of this is how it's going to be. And a law change impacted the way that you were able to provide a great environment for your people.
Exactly. I mean, they made it where you couldn't even, you say the wrong word and all of a sudden you're in this, this difficult area. And then, I'm over here and we'll get into numbers. I'm trying to build $100 million plus roofing company. And that worries me when I've got guys running around and I don't have those direct relationships anymore with the people on the street knocking the doors. If there is things you can and can't say, right? I mean, that's stressful. Obviously you do everything you can to make sure that they're following the right rules, but when you're $100 million roofing company, you got X amount of reps, like, it's difficult, but yeah, man, like you bring these people in, hey, this is how it is. This is the process. Get really good at doing this. Then all of a sudden one day, hey, man, I don't know if we can really do that anymore. And and all those jobs you signed up, it's a little dicey if those are actually going to get approved or not. So, it was just a full blown, lifestyle, honestly, decision for my partner and I, to just get into, I always say tailwinds, like, insurance companies right now, we're on the tailwind side of it, right? Because homeowners are sitting there, they get a call from their insurance company, hey, you got to replace your roof. And then they go online, roofer near me, and thanks to roofer marketers, we're the first ones right up at the top. And then they call us and we go out there and provide them a quote, right? So that's just kind of where we're at and how we're building our business.
Yeah, that it's a much more sustainable thing, right? And now that's another interesting point about, hey, your goals are big, right? So having that many reps on the street, say if anyone says the wrong thing, that's a big liability. I've seen that. I saw some chatter about that down in for a large company down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area recently, where they're like, it was some sales rep that got caught at the door on the Ring camera, saying the wrong thing. And
your reputation is gone just like that, just because you said something that you weren't supposed to say, which it doesn't sit right with us. And yeah, man, there's things that you can do right now, where you're not just a standard, in my opinion, a standard residential roofing company where you've got a bold number at the bottom and you're lack of a better term, you're dropping your pants to be the lowest price. That's what people think when they think retail, for the most part. But we found ways to differentiate ourselves with creative financing options. You'd be surprised. I mean, we're here in South Florida and there's some big roofing companies, reputable roofing companies. And, we'll go out and we're head to head with 3 or 4 different companies and they don't even offer financing. You know what I mean? So so right there we have a competitive advantage. And I'm not, there's a few other things that we do and kind of how we, how we run, where even in the retail market, there's still so much room for improvement. And I say it all the time. I was saying it to you earlier. It's a lot of the, companies around us it's been handed down from their dad, or, they've been around for 40 years and the owner might have one foot out the door. And for us, we have an advantage there because we're young and hungry and we've got something to prove. So we have a huge head start right now, in my opinion, as these older companies either start to sell, get bought or whatever, what have you. We're ahead of the game in terms of millennials, owning roofing companies here, and we're in a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you were telling me that what's the oldest person at your company right now?
I think it's Jose. I actually just heard him walking outside. I think it's Jose. He's like 33. He's one of our PMs. Yeah, and look, I'm not like, that's just who we've attracted. I'm totally opening to hiring, people of all ages. It's just I think that's what we've attracted, because we're trying to do things a little bit different. We're not trying to be your standard roofer, right? We have a ton of technology that we're leveraging. I'm taking a lot of the stuff that I had from the digital marketing background, e-commerce background, sales tactics from relevant, up. It's not this old sales, training from some guy from the 30s. We're listening to Alex Hormozy in our meetings. We're listening to, I know people have an opinion, Grant Cardone. We're doing things a little bit different and a little bit more new age. And I think we're appealing to that younger market of young, hungry professionals.
But I remember seeing like your guys's. I remember when we were building your website and you guys were sending over photos. I was looking at the mock-up of the website once it was completed, and I was like, these guys look like a tech company, look like a roofing company.
It's so funny you say that. We were in a shared workspace before we came to this office, and one of my sales manager was at like a happy hour, like a networking happy hour. And ends up talking to this real estate agent that was in the same building. And the guy was like, "Oh, I see you guys around. Like, what do you do?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're a roofing company." He said the same thing. He's like, "I would have bet money you guys were just some startup tech company. Like, do a roofing company? That's crazy." But yeah, I guess we'll take that as a compliment, I guess. I don't know what I think it's a good thing.
And I mean, coming from the digital marketing side of things and moving over that, e-commerce kind of thing, that is, you probably had a lot of that, in you, like you had mentioned. Let's talk about that, the leveraging of tech. Let's talk a little bit about that. How have you thought about it in the roofing business, in creating, in building Neal up? How have you thought about your tech stack?
I see it as it's an integral part of building this business, in terms of multiples, and congrats on you guys, by the way, being acquired. But, when you have that portion of your business, you're not just paper and pen relying on relationships, right? You have marketing channels, again, thanks to you guys, and you have technology and you have systems and processes that are full, dummy proof. I call it playing a video game, right? A job gets sold. 4 different automations happen in our CRM. A text goes out to the homeowner, an email goes out to the homeowner. They can respond back, and then our office is literally clicking buttons, a checklist as they do, in our staged, columns in our CRM. They're checking buttons, and then that's not going to move to that next step until they check all of the buttons, right? So it's like playing a video game. And although it's redundant, it makes sure that nothing slips through the cracks, and it makes sure that we're staying organized. And as it moves through the different processes, homeowners are being updated automatically, again, through text, through email. We're building out a app right now where customers can actually log in. Open API gives them updates on the status of their job and whatnot. They can communicate through the app to our back office. We're integrating it with AI, because 99% of the questions are the same. So a chat GPT integration where, they can communicate with the office where most of their questions can get answered. Again, open API, they can see, hey, we've ordered materials, we're waiting on HOA, this, and that, and then updates to their, targeted kind of timeline of when we're going to do construction. So again, to answer your question, that's an integral part of Neal, and it's the only way that we've been able to scale as fast as we have. It's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of the, our marketing and lead generation as well.
There's a lot of nuance to what you just said. One of the things was it's building the checklists in that this gets completed before it gets to move on, and a lot of times people are doing that manually, right? But now you can build the communication methods into that, and that's the power of the CRMs, right? That's the power of technology. The worst thing that I see, we look at Google reviews all the time, right? We're reading Google reviews, and most negative Google reviews are not around poor workmanship. They're around poor communication.
100%.
It's the craziest thing. And so if you can eliminate that gap in your business, speak a little bit more. Like, let's walk through the process a little bit as someone's going through the customer journey with Neal. So they type in roofer near me, they reach out to you, phone call gets initiated to your company, and you guys are putting them in your CRM. Or like, let's start there and kind of walk through an ideal journey.
Sure. So, and then on your, again, just real quick on that point about, a lot of the complaints, that's obviously number one. And number two, think about how much time your back office is spending on the phone answering the same exact question over and over. Hey, just checking in. I signed the contract a month ago. What's going on? If you can eliminate that, I mean, how much time does that free up for your back office to work on critical tasks and actually getting things done, right? So it's kind of twofold there. But so, yeah, going back to your question, I mean, I'll kind of stay a little bit high. I won't get too tech. I geek out about this stuff, but a phone call comes in. We have our inside sales team. Speed to lead is huge for us, and I rely on you guys a lot for that, right? So part of that kind of initial contact is a lot what you guys do for us, but we're integrated with Ruby. So hypothetically, our inside sales team misses the call. We never miss a call. We will never on our Google dashboard or anywhere show a missed call, which is, people don't realize how important that is for your algorithm, for your rankings and all that good stuff. So we make sure we use a call service just in case. They have their prompts. They have a form that they fill out that gets texted, email blasted to our inside salesperson. They call, they schedule, or we answer it right away. We go ahead and put that information into our CRM. Again, it's a checklist, right? So when they're putting that information, our inside sales is confirming, 15 different questions. So that sales rep, when they get that contact, they know everything about the client, right? The entire conversation is recorded. They can even listen to the conversation if they want to. And all that's relayed to the rep, right? So then we assign a rep. It goes into our CRM. The rep actually cannot go out to the appointment until they do a confirmation call. On the back end, there's text going out to the homeowner confirming time, sending out YouTube videos about our company, sending out the website, sending out our Google reviews. So we're starting to warm them up to the appointment right away. Right away, right when that contact's made, we have multiple zaps, multiple integrations. So the company cam is already created. The roofer, our estimate is already created, and it's all held within the CRM, right? So our reps are not jumping around to multiple different, tools, and everything that happens from that initial phone call recorded, is in notes taken, all the way to the links that are associated with the job from other external, softwares and whatnot, are all in one place, which has helped us a ton for efficiency. And as I don't know how much more you want me to go, but as they move through that process, their job sold, they jump into our back office right when that job's sold. We have pass-off meetings, making sure everything's clean. And then from there, it's just over communication. A lot of it is automation, I will say, but a lot of it, there are human touch points where when it gets to a certain point, guess what? An automated task is created. So when our, operations people come into the office in the morning, open up their computer, hey, you have these tasks that you have to close out for the day, because we do still want that human touch point. And they're just referencing the emails and the text that already went out. So it just doesn't feel too automated. It's like, hey, I did, we did shoot over an email and a text. Hope you got that, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of reiterating what it says. Do you have any questions for me? Over communication. And that's why we have 200 5-star reviews. Like, that is why we have it, is because we just over communicate. At the end of every job, even if it's construction and some things go wrong and they don't arrive, right at 8:00, or, they left a water bottle in the yard, like things that happen, right, that we're trying to stop, but it inevitably happens. They go, wait a second. They communicated so well throughout the process. They were so nice. Yeah. Everything was smooth. I was never worried about if they were going to build my roof, when they were going to build it. And that stuff that used to take us 2-3 weeks for punch out because they were just fighting us at the end is now like that, right? Because we've built that relationship with them. So if anything does come up at punch out, we've seen, from final inspection to actually collecting our loss, that has been cut in half. as we've
Wow.
communicated better in the beginning. It's crazy. I track all that data and stuff. Again, I nerd out about this stuff, but
So that is super interesting. Like,
yeah,
like that your collections are better. Your
yeah.
AR is down because with a direct correlation to the communication. One of the things I heard from you, and this is one of my favorite things, it's send an email, send a text that you sent the email, and then call about the text in the email. Because
Yeah, and they don't even answer us all the time, right? And that's fine. So
no,
not everyone
but
loves
leave a
to talk about
voicemail.
it.
Just leave a voicemail. Then,
Yep.
then it's a voicemail that says, "Hey, just sent you a text about an
Yep.
email I sent." Like
Yep.
if you do that on every single communication, there is absolutely no room for error, right? Like,
I heard too many times. I did not know this, or you guys didn't
yep,
communicate this or that, and I mean that's all a part. That's all part of growth, and
yep,
it's not like we were trying to not communicate, but when our back office is busy and we're getting things through, it's hard. It's sometimes hard. You don't think that that homeowner just wrote you a $25,000 check to start the job, and then it's been 4 weeks. We think it's normal because we're working, obviously. But that's, right. They start going, you know what? I gave them a lot of money. I haven't really
mm-hmm.
heard anything. I'm going to give them a call. And, so we're avoiding that. We're being proactive.
Yeah. So let's talk about that reduction in AR. What are you seeing that's really contributing to that? Like, I know it's the communication, but how or what are you communicating that you feel is leading to that, the collections process being so much better?
So our touch points are at, and every company's different, but our touch points are at every single different column. So every single, if you can, whoever's listening to this, you probably have your columns where you have your right. So if you're in
Your
ordering
board or
materials,
whatever, on your job Nimbus board, or in your AccuLink stages, or on your job progress stages, whatever it is, you have your board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there is a touch point at every stage. There's a touch point at every stage. It's an email, to text, and we don't do a phone call on everyone, but there are phone calls. Tasks are automatically created.
Yep.
A task signals a phone call for the office. But is that kind of what you meant? I mean, that's our touch points are at every single stage of the process. I'd rather over communicate. I'd rather never. I don't want to ever get a call again saying, "Hey, we didn't know that this was happening," or "Hey, you didn't communicate with us, throughout the process. It's been super gray area. We don't even know what you guys are doing." I never want to hear that again. So, communication is, and they respond back to the texts and emails. Although it's automated, I'll go in every once in a while and look at our unopened, email, and it's like, "Thank you," like, oh my gosh, I was just about to call you guys. So it helps so much. It really does. And it just puts them in a better mood. They trust us more. At the end of the day, it's all about building trust and building that relationship. So when at the very end of the job, when, we're doing punch out, you're dealing with someone that is way more warm to you than someone who's like, they took my money, didn't communicate with me, put my roof on, and now they want all the money again. They only talk to me when they want the money, right? I'm sure everyone's heard that. You only call me when you want money. So we avoid that.
That's an aha moment for people listening. If you're only calling when it's time to get the money, right? Yeah. Like that makes an impression, right? That makes an impression on people. That's an interesting way to put it. And what I heard from that, and kind of where the question was, is that like in that, when you're doing your punch out, and you said it created less friction in that process. So, but what it was, and what I'm hearing is that it's just that they trust you more.
Yeah, they trust you, and you're building that relationship more. I mean, and they've talked to your back office, right, because of those phone calls, and they've built relationships. And you know how people are. They sometimes want to talk, right? It's not always about the roof. I mean, hey, yeah, we ordered your material. Oh, okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I just got back from vacation with my blah, blah, blah. Oh, how was that? How was your vacation? Where'd you go? Cool. Like, we train to build relationships with these people, and those are really good times and touch points to do so.
Yeah, for sure. It's those relationships. When someone trusts you, it's a different conversation when something goes wrong.
Hmm.
And this is construction. Stuff will happen.
Inevitably, something's going to go wrong, right? Like I think when
Yep.
I first started, I was so obsessed. Oh my gosh, I don't even like think. I was so obsessed with everything going super, super, super perfect that I couldn't even sleep at night. I mean, it was hard for us to scale because I was starting to give tasks that I was taking on to other people, and I was
Yeah.
micromanaging, and that's what I realized, right? You kind of have to come to a point where you go, we're dealing with people, logistics, we're dealing with suppliers, material. I mean, there's a lot of things, unfortunately, a little bit out of our control. We can do our best to rectify any situation, which we do. But at the end of the day, if as long as you have trust built with the homeowner and you have a relationship built, there's nothing that can't be fixed. And
Yeah.
we pride ourselves on the reason that we have so many good 5-star reviews is because we don't walk away from the job until you're happy. Right. So if you have a relationship with someone, if something goes wrong, you fix the situation and you move forward, and they don't come at you from a defensive, this big bad roofing contractor, is going to take advantage of me. When something happens, they come at us from a way more, respectful kind of, and it helps a lot. So
Yeah.
that's been our cheat code, I guess you could say, for production. And then guess what happens when you give them a great experience? Boom, referrals, right? So
Referrals, reviews,
it helps.
and the best, I've said this probably hundreds of times on this podcast, but it's the best companies that I know and we work with are the ones that are able to turn one into many. That's
Yes.
the game. That is success. Being able to get people to refer you to their friends and family members, being able to, get the neighbors and have your signs just right down the street, all the way through the neighborhood, right? Like that is the companies that learn how to do that never lose. Like they never
100%.
lose.
100%. I heard it best. I forgot what podcast it was, and I might mess up how it was said, but how I interpreted it was referrals are the one source of lead generation that's almost infinite, right? I mean, it's this
Yes.
person can tell this person can tell this person can tell that person, and you have nothing to do with it. You're not running ads. You're not, there's no cost per acquisition associated with, well, I mean, depending on how you're looking at CPAs, but
Yeah.
you're not necessarily forking out cash for someone to tell someone to tell someone to tell something, and it can just grow infinitely, spider web off of one, positive interaction. So knowing that, I mean, yes, we spend, a good amount on our marketing to make sure that we're hitting our targets, but at the same time, we look for a certain percent of our, to be organic, right? To be inbound
Yeah.
calls because they saw our trucks or because they talked to this person or, so that's been helping us exponentially with scaling and keeping overhead,
The,
lower.
I don't know if we've had this conversation before, but one of the things I always say, or I like to kind of as a mindset around this, is that how do you get referrals, right? Is you do good work for people, right? You take care of them, you do good work. They're impressed by you. They trust you. They're going to refer you.
Yep.
But you may have to buy that initial customer.
Mm-hmm.
That's your marketing, right? So you have to buy that first one. You have to
Yep.
buy the seed that creates the fruit later, right? Like you plant the seed here, you buy that seed, you plant it in the garden, you water it, you nurture it, you create trust with it, and now that plant bears fruit in the term of the long-term value of that customer, right? Like
100%.
it's like, and having that mindset, it's a long-term mindset though. So it's very challenging. Let's go back a little bit to like the beginning days, right? Like coming from a digital background, coming from a marketing background, maybe you had some of that foresight kind of built into you a little bit. But in those early days when you're running lean, like it's hard to have that foresight. When in the business did that change or morph, or how did that come about in your guys' business?
Timeline wise, I mean, I can kind of remember it was when we were So, I mean, we bootstrapped this thing, right? I mean, I put a initial investment into it. We didn't go get debt. We didn't raise money or anything like that. And we were, and this kind of correlates with what I was saying when I was micromanaging everything, and so was my partner. You can kind of do that up to a certain point, right? You can kind of get away with being very, very lean and using paper and kind of remembering everything. And I would say it was at the end of 2021. So we started at the end of 2019, very end of 2019. 2020, like I said, we were kind of working a storm. We were doing a little retail here and there, mostly just insurance work. 2021, we did 2.5 million. That was kind of like our first year that we say that we were like really building. 2020 was a lot of selling. 2021, so we built and collected 2.5 million. That's where it changed, right? Because we did 2.5 million. We were like, okay, that's cool, it's nice, but we have way bigger, aspirations here, and inevitably that's where we had to shift our mindset to growth and leverage in systems and processes and automation. And that's why in 2022 we did 6.5 million. Because we were able to properly implement those things on a foundational level too. That's something I keep saying, it's tough when you get to a $10-15 million roofing company, but it's not built on a good foundation, right? And you're a little bit bloated in terms of overhead. Your systems and processes are a little bit outdated. So typically what we've been doing at the beginning of the year is just going, okay, we want to get here. We want to double. We're trying to double every year. What do we need to implement process-wise, technology-wise, and whatnot to get there, and then we'll kind of work backwards. So that's to answer your question. It was after that 2.5 million at the end of 2021 where we said we wanted to do double. We wanted to do 5. We ended up doing 6.5. That's where we had to make that switch.
So what I hear there is you're doing a couple of things. It's a reinvestment in the business through time in restructuring things and making them more efficient. But maybe also through some financial reinvestment through your marketing and things like that. How are you guys thinking of that? What's your thought process there?
We didn't take money out for a while. So we've constantly been reinvesting into people, trucks. We've got, I don't want to make the number up. I don't know. Last time I think like it's 13 trucks on the road right now, brand new. We're investing heavily into this company, and the idea behind that is I hope people see it. I hope homeowners see it and customers see that, a lot of times they're kind of worried about working with a roofing contractor or a contractor because they think that they're fly by night. They're going to take their money and leave. Part of our approach to this is, yes, it's nice to have brand new trucks and good wraps and it's great for the brand, but a lot of it is also for the sale. Like you can reference, hey, you see the truck I pulled up in, you see the trucks that you see what we're wearing, you see our website, you see our online presence, our reviews. It's creating that kind of, you guys say it a lot, that omnipresence, and proving to them that you're going to we're investing into the company and we're here for the long run because warranties are huge for these people. So, our mindset behind reinvesting back into the company has always been, we're not afraid to do it. And then in terms of marketing, that's more so based off of kind of, I have a idea in my head about what our cost per acquisition is, with all the different channels and then as well just as total overall. And I know about how many appointments each sales representative can take per day to maintain our minimum close rate. And I'm working off of that. Right. So I know about what I have to spend, and then I know about what our capacity is because we've ran with 3 sales guys, giving them all 4 or 5 appointments a day. And, our close rate was terrible. We were missing appointments. Yeah. So it's kind of finding that balance between, making sure that it's a manageable amount of appointments and leads for these guys and that close rates do stay strong. And that's how we're scaling. That's all we're doing. We're just looking at data. We're going, all right, we want to double, this year. Cool. We need to hire 5 more sales guys and we need to book them this many appointments and their minimum close rate needs to be this. And we're going to do it. Right. And then we'll build out operationally what we need to do as well.
What do you shoot for in that? I think it's a number that a lot of roofing companies overlook or don't understand, and that's that customer acquisition cost. Not you don't have to break it down by channel, but what's that average that you guys are shooting for? What range are you trying to hit in that customer acquisition cost?
Good question. So I'll tell you what I will spend. I mean, it does vary a lot based off of seasons, and we're relatively new. I mean, like I said, we've only been going really hard since 2021. I'd say I will spend $1,000 all day, for an acquisition, right, to get a customer. I will do that all day, every day, right? And we've had moments of time where it was more than that. I'll go up to 1,500. And again, this goes full circle, right? This goes to exactly what we were talking about before. We're in these beginning stages, as a company, and we are investing heavily into, technology and communication, building relationships. So, I'm willing to spend a little bit more for a customer because I know that I'm going to pay for that initial, interaction, and that's going to turn into 4 or 5 more. And we've been growing exponentially because of that. So, and then when we kind of extrapolate that all out and then factor in how we're growing and we're getting referrals and whatnot, now our cost per acquisition, depending on how we're calculating it, is decreasing, a significant amount. But I mean, I'll spend that all day. I mean, a great number for us because we do a lot of local service ads. We do a lot of Google ads. We do a lot of Facebook ads. It's just different every channel, as you know, obviously, right? It's totally different. And it's hard to say which one. You could say that because you spend so much on Facebook and because you have that presence that your Google is doing better, even though if you're looking strategically at Facebook, it might look like it's a higher cost per acquisition. But, the only reason they clicked on the link is because they've seen you 4 or 5 times on Facebook. So I like to look at it more like holistically than per channel.
Yeah, you have to, like, every channel is going to perform differently. There's ups and downs in every channel, right? Like you were talking about early on, like, man, Facebook makes an algorithm change, iOS update, and now Facebook ads are a completely different thing. And then this happens and that happens, but it's the poles in the water, right? And the multi-channel attribution is challenging at times. Like, you don't know. Well, they saw your Facebook ad 4 times. And then they saw a truck drive by or at the gas station, right? Like, there's so many things that may have led to them calling you through your Google business profile, right? Like,
and we're there now where we can do that. But I will say, when we were starting, I mean, I was like, it's a little bit different of approach, I think, for marketing when you're first starting is you don't really have the budget to do that. You're like, I need to spend this to get a lead, and then I have to close 1 out of 3 of them. And if I don't, I'm upside down. You know what I mean? So we're fortunate to where we've been able to grow to a point where we can have that more omnipresent approach and look at it more holistically. But if you're just getting into digital marketing and looking at acquisition costs and stuff, you kind of got to be a little bit more strict in terms of, unless you have a big budget, what channel you're spending your money on and how you're getting your leads. So,
but also in that, you have to have enough budget to enter these channels, right? Like, that's 100%. A big thing. Like, if you don't enter the channel with a budget that is relatable to there, if you go to Google Ads and try and do $1,000 a month in Google pay-per-click advertising and roofing, don't do it. Like, you're not going to. It's a waste of money, right? So you have to also know the kind of what you should go to market with in that channel, right? Direct mail is another one that I like to, because I think it's more relatable to people. People understand it a little bit more. Like, if you go and do direct mail and do 10,000 postcards and hope for the best, like, if that's all the budget you have is for those 10,000 postcards one time, don't do direct mail. Mm-hmm. Direct mail is an 18-month kind of process in my mind, right? It's a long term, 12 to 18 months of consistent mailing is when you start to see, like, things. Because someone will take that card and put it in their drawer, and then 8 months later they call you and you're like, where did you hear about us? And you're like, oh, I got your postcard. I stuck it in a drawer, right? Like, there's these, we think about, we're looking for that direct lead all the time in our businesses, right? We're like, well, we do this marketing, we get this call right now, but that's not how humans work, right? There's that.
I love that you say that. I love talking about this stuff because exactly what you just said there. people don't think about the customer journey when they're applying a specific type of marketing, right? So for you to say that it takes 18 months for postcards, yeah, 100%. Because think about it, you are sending a direct mail to someone who may not even be thinking about a roof, right? So they're going to put it into their drawer and they're going to sit there. Now the difference with, let's say, Google pay-per-click, right? They're already looking for a roofer, so there's a direct cost, so you can get a little bit of a faster return because. So 100%, and that's another thing. Like people, I'll work with some guys that are, maybe not in roofing or other service-based businesses, and they'll come and be like, the direct mail didn't work or whatever. It's like, that's because you just sent a postcard to a guy that doesn't even want a roof right now. Like it's not going to just convert right away. So maybe spend your money on, this or this. Like it really depends on what your immediate goals are.
You'll probably appreciate this. I talk about it in terms of funnel, right? Bottom of funnel, middle of funnel, top of funnel, right? So when you are starting out, all of your marketing dollars should go to bottom of funnel. Mm-hmm. Bottom of funnel could be knocking a door, right? Like if you're in a storm restoration market and a storm came through and you go to doors that potentially have storm damage, that is the closest to that someone buying right there, right? That's the closest 100%. Thing. The next kind of things that are like that are what you're talking about with Google Local Services ads and Google Ads. Because people are typing in, you can bid on the keywords essentially, right? So when someone types in best roofing company near me, there's a high probability that they're looking for a roofer, right? That they're looking to hire someone. So looking at those opportunities and then building it up, right? So now you move into the middle of funnel. They're seeing your trucks all over. They're seeing this. And then you move into the long-term stuff, maybe billboards and radio and TV and things like that are just brand awareness. They're just hearing your name all the time. They're not in the market. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they still remember your jingle. I was talking with, I don't know if you're familiar with Chuck Toki from Top Rep. He used to work for a company called Able Roof, Mr. Roof. He was the vice president of sales. He said they would go out on sales appointments and people would sing their jingle to them. Right? Like that's smart. Brand awareness. But don't do that right away. That cool jingle is not something that's going to generate leads today. But boy, it has an impact long-term, right? There's so many things that, so understanding that short-term, mid-term, long-term in your marketing is very important.
You broke that down really well. I mean, you articulated that really well. That's the most important thing for people to understand and to make sure that they're not just wasting money. I mean, a lot of people think, put up a radio ad and then I'm going to get rich and get all these calls. Like, you might be better off putting that into this, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. 100%.
One of the conversations we've had in the past was more about in building the company too, you had to, I don't know how to put it, learn to work with people or managing people. Talk about that journey a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, so digital marketing, I was a pretty much a one-man show. I wasn't this big operation. I'd say 15 clients. I would run the ads. I had one guy kind of doing sales. And then e-commerce was even more, hidden, right? I didn't have any employees. It was just me running ads, finding products, building, online websites and stuff like that. So and it was good. I mean, I was doing well. But transitioning into roofing, it was a shock. It was like I was going door to door, right? And I'm used to sitting in my, apartment in Fort Lauderdale and clicking away on the computer. And all of a sudden, everything from interactions with customers, to where it used to just be, through email, or it's now, I'm knocking on doors, I'm handling objections, all the way fast forward to now, where we have a filled office of, employees. It wasn't something that I really thought a ton about when getting into roofing, but that's been definitely the, one of the biggest things that I've had to develop and learn and grow as a leader is it's not just as simple as data and sales and building roofs. There's a lot of you have to build personal relationships with your employees, and it goes beyond just work. And you have to understand what makes them tick, right? What's their love language? Is it money? Is it recognition? Is it service to others? Like what is, and it's always different for different people. And when I first started, I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, it was a little bit more money motivated, right? I mean, you're like, hey, I got to make enough money to be an entrepreneur. So that's kind of what you're focusing on. And my biggest, looking back, I laugh at myself because I just assumed that was everyone, right? So I'm trying to run a promotion because we have a goal, and I'm like, guys, we're going to do a $1,000 bonus if we do this, this, and this. And then it gets to the end of the month, I'm like, why did no one, why did some people, work extremely hard to do that, and then some people didn't? And it's because people aren't all motivated by the same thing. So all the way from, sales to now, when having a full office and dealing with employees and stuff like that, that's been the biggest learning curve for me, is kind of what makes people tick, right? And how to motivate them, and how to make them enjoy their job and feel passionate about what they're doing. Yes, it's roofing, but it's more than that. We're protecting these homeowners' most valuable assets. They have a funky taste in their mouth about contractors because of XYZ experience. So let's go make their life easier, right? And people are very thankful when we do that for them. So goes beyond just roofs.
It does. And it makes me think of like when I first started college, one of my freshman year or sophomore year of college, I took economics 101. And I remember my professor talking about economics is a science, but it's not an exact science because we have to account for humans. And people and their motivations and their like the way that they do things. That's what that made me think about, right? Like, so
I would always think that, why is this a social science? Why is it not? Because you'd be talking about numbers and stuff, but it was never categorized as
It's so numbers, right? Economics is so much about the numbers, but the numbers are not, they don't always correlate because you have human emotion, right? Like if here's a great example of it. Because you're a data nerd like me, like I was having a conversation with someone about like, man, search volume seems down, right? So I went to Google Trends and I looked at like roofers, roofing companies, roofing contractors, roofers near me, those types of search terms, and I looked at when the recession like all of the news channels started talking about recession, which was the end of last April, early last May. So about a year ago. You can go in, you can look at the search data and you can watch the search data, the search volume drop for roofers, roofing companies, roofers near me at that exact time.
Yep.
It is like the emotion in people is a big factor in a lot of these things. What are some of what are some of the ways that you've how have you gone on your journey of learning how to be that manager, be that leader?
Trial and error, messing up a couple times, assuming that everyone's goals and motivations were aligned with my own, and then analyzing data to interpret that might not be the case, right? I'm going to call that,
Sam. I'm going to call that self-awareness, though. Like looking at it may be self-awareness in the data, but it's like you're willing to, and this is what I think is important in the statement that you made. You were willing to look at the data or reflect on the interactions that you had, and wonder why, and make changes to that, right? Like that's part of it. Like.
100%. And the easiest example in my mind for that is like, you've got a sales team of 10 guys, right? We're at 8 guys. We've got a sales team of 8 guys and we have a goal for the end of the month. And I'm going to if we hit this goal, we're going to have an accelerator. So everyone's going to get an extra point on their commission, and it's going to be great. Like, when you turn in your perfect package, we're going to pay it up front. It's going to be awesome. Get to the end of the month. Guess what? We don't hit it. And, we actually did a little bit less, than the month prior, with the same amount of people with more leads. Okay, well, what's wrong there? I mean, are we not, I don't think the motivators necessarily align. And then, hey, what if we ran a promo, to think of this linearly, like, okay, then we run a promo where, hey, at the end of the month, we're all going to go on a boat, the Pon-Tiki up in Jupiter, and we're all going to be together, and you can bring your family. And then all of a sudden, hey, we still don't do it, right? We're still kind of under. And then you go into the data a little bit more and you go, wait a second, that when the money motivated, thing was going, Phil freaking killed it. He was way above quota, dominated, when you're looking at it holistically, not everyone was motivated by that. And hey, when we did the, and this is just a simplified example, but hey, when we did the
for sure.
Community-based kind of incentive, wow, Tyler tripled his sales that month, and his energy was so great, and he was asking hey, where are we gonna, what time, what day, when are we gonna do this, because we're gonna hit it. And it's just looking at it and going, okay, well, clearly not everyone's motivated by the same thing. So what can we do as leaders, and how can I implement that for our leadership team and then myself to make sure that everyone's motivated properly, right? Because that's the best way to in my opinion to scale a company and get people to enjoy what they do is aligning with people's goals and what's important to them. So, yeah,
that's awesome, man. What do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped you guys find success with Neal?
It's a really, really good question. I just thought of like 3 different things.
You could say 3 things. It's fine.
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing for us, and the reason that we were able to see, we haven't talked about numbers too much, but we've been doubling every year, and we're a little bit more than every year. We did $2.5 million in 2021. We did $6.5 million the next year, and then this year we're on track for 15. And the reason that we were able to do that is because we've been investing heavily into our company, right? And I think sometimes owners and entrepreneurs, they finally get to this level of success where they've got more money than they're spending, right? So there's a profit there, and they want to just hold on to that profit. And to a certain extent, yes, like, you're doing it to make money, right? But I think that investing into a good marketing, company like you guys, like investing into, salaries for your employees, that is not just the bare minimum, right? Like more than what other companies are paying their people, because you're going to get more out of them. They're going to enjoy their job more. Buying those trucks, putting the cool wrap on the truck that, people are going to recognize and see in the community. Like when we weren't doing that, I can just see how we would have stayed stagnant. You know what I mean? If we were just bringing people in at, hey, this is your salary, this is what other people are paying. Yeah, we sub everything out. We don't really have any trucks or anything like that. Everyone uses their own truck, and we're afraid people can feel that hesitancy, and they can feel that you're not investing into your company, and you're not super passionate and confident in what you're doing. So when we flip that switch kind of at the end of 2021 there, that's just when, everything's been exponentially better in terms of growth and culture and performance, the bottom line, right? So that would be my one piece of advice is if you're confident in what you're doing, don't be afraid to go all in. People lose that spark. Like that initial spark that you had when you started the company and you took that risk, right? When there's a little bit of money in between your revenue and expenses, and you want to hold on to that, you have to keep that same motivation as you did when you started. And it has to be intentional, because if you don't intentionally do it, you will find yourself becoming stagnant and getting comfortable. And you're going to have you're going to have people quit and people turn over, and they're going to see that, you're just kind of happy at that mark and you're not really investing in, and, you're so anyway, again, I start to go on and on. I'm passionate about that specific topic, but keep pushing like you did when you started the company. There's always new things to break through, and it's done well for us to this point. So
awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.